My dad never taught me how to take responsibility for myself in those ways. He was very strict and very rigid, and he told me, this is what you need to do, and you need to do it now. But I never learned really how, the process, the teaching of this is how you do something. This is what it feels like to be responsible. It was all just controlled via shame and fear. And then I would just get overwhelmed. So I'd have to do this big thing as a kid, and I just get overwhelmed because I wouldn't know where to start or what to do, and I would kind of freeze. And that's also the programming I get when, let's say I have an office day and I have a list of 20 things to do, but it's I get in freeze mode because I'm what do I start with? What do I do? I don't know. Instilling divine responsibility piece that I missed as a kid, it overlaps in a lot of pieces of my life. I can't handle this feeling of there's too much to do. I got to do this. So I just don't feel it. And I just don't pay attention to it. Because if I don't pay attention to it, I don't have to feel what it brings up within me.
Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Masters of Self University podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Lee.
And I'm your host, Danny Morley, and tonight we're joined by Madison Creel, one of our amazing coaches here at MSU. Welcome to the podcast, Madison.
Thank you, guys. I'm excited to be here.
So let's just dive into it. Let's
Cool.
just get into it.
Let's do it. So I wanted to touch on tonight about how our wounding can shape our personality. Because there's been this theme that I'm going through right now, that this wounding that I have around, it's almost like this carefree nature, right? Just not a big deal, anxiety free, don't really, nothing really matters. Everything is going to work out, right? That's been my personality for as long as I can remember, right? And while 100%, there is divine qualities in that, and there is a part of, a deep part of me that feels that way, there's also a part of me that is wounded that is also showing up in that way. So it's been so tricky, and I feel like this whole podcast is going to come down to discernment, really, because there are times where I just brush things off as it's it doesn't matter, it's okay. But really, there's just so much avoidance there, and so much numbing, in a sense of I just don't want to feel what this situation's going to bring up within me. If there's anxiety, if there's worry, so it's a lot easier just not to care. And that is such a huge piece of my life, and it also has resulted in me not paying attention to things. There's this huge cloud of inattention because I've conditioned myself so hard to just not care, it's not a big deal. It doesn't really matter. And this part of my personality that has become just a big part of who I am. It's just the way that it shows up in a wounded way, and where I see it is in taking responsibility for my life in the physical. And we're going to go deep into Madison wound. You guys are going to learn a lot about me tonight. But I just want to start there because yeah, I don't know if you guys have experienced part of like you that is actually just your wounding, but you think, oh, but it's just how I am. It's just who I am.
Well, let's talk about you for a second, because obviously
Yeah.
I've known you now for 4 years, right? And when I first met you, it's like, yeah, I think that's something that if you were to say, oh, describe Madison, you'd be like, oh, she doesn't really give a shit about anything. Like, she's really easygoing. Like,
Yeah.
she's really go with the flow. Nothing bothers her. Like, when I first met you, I literally would watch you and I'm like, nothing bothers this girl. Like, it could be the most stressful, chaotic situation and you don't flinch in it. You're just this, it was this very like, just, and then over the years, it took you a little bit to start seeing like, oh, wait a minute, this is a way that I avoid stuff. This is a way that I don't have to feel what's actually there. So it's easier for me to be in this energy and be that, quote unquote, be a part of my personality than to actually feel whatever X, Y, and Z is there. And so my question to you is, when did that hit you? Because I remember us having voice notes over text message, over you being like, hey, yeah, this like apathy thing that I do, or like, this like go with the flow thing I do. I remember us talking about that. So what was the moment that it hit you that you were like, wait a minute, this is like programming. This is a way to avoid feeling.
Right. Yeah. So, and there's both there for sure. Like I feel there is a part of me that I just
Absolutely.
really low. Right. So that's why it's hard. It's like the discernment.
Yes.
Which is
you
why
are
it's
low
so hard to
maintenance.
Right.
You are.
But it bleeds into, so it's like I have to really like hone in on like, am I avoiding something by doing this? And the biggest thing, I think that there's a couple of different instances, but when it comes down to it, the inattention to things, and I'll kind of go into that into my physical life. So just not taking full responsibility for things in my vicinity that are me. So I'm going to give you an example. Like my car. I have a hard time keeping my car clean. Okay? And this has been forever, but it's worse because I have kids and they're just messy, okay? I can ignore that, and I could say, "Oh, it doesn't really matter." But there's a program that I run of I literally like I don't even attend to it. It's an inattention. Um, when when it's something that only affects me. It's like I don't care about it if it only has to do with me, like if it's my room or my space. If it has to do with other people, I'm a lot more on top of things. But it's just if it's me, because I don't care, because this is where it comes down to the wounding. Okay. And I'll kind of tell you a little bit about what I explored here. So there's a lot of like dad wounds. Like when I was I went into this on my own, and then I also got coached to deeper levels here. My dad never taught me how to take responsibility for myself in those ways. He was very strict and very rigid, and he told me, this is what you need to do, and you need to do it now. But I never like learned really how, like the process, the teaching of like, this is how you do something. This is what it feels like to be responsible. It was all just controlled via like shame and fear. And then I would just get overwhelmed. So like I'd have to do this big thing as a kid, and I just get overwhelmed because I wouldn't know where to start or what to do. And I would kind of freeze. And that's also the programming I get when, let's say I have an office day and I have a list of like 20 things to do, but it's like I get in freeze mode because I'm like, what do I start with? What do I do? I don't know. Like, it's like that instilling divine responsibility piece that I missed as a kid. It overlaps in a lot of pieces of my life. So that was like kind of the first thing that I dove into when it came to like this inattention of like, I can't handle this overwhelm. I can't handle this feeling of there's too much to do. I got to do this. So I just don't feel it. And I just don't pay attention to it, because if I don't pay attention to it, I don't have to feel what it brings up within me.
So basically, it's just like a way for you to cope with what it is that you're feeling. That
Right.
by not paying attention, it. I mean, I feel this so much all the time. Like as soon as we step into that first way of oneness, the way of responsibility, we're stepping into our power. Now, whether we're talking about healing ourselves or we're talking about cleaning our car, whatever it is, it's when we take that step, and it can seem like such a small step, and at the same time it's like such a massive thing, such a game changer. It's like as soon as we make that step and say, no, I'm responsible for this, like this is on me, everything starts to shift. And because of that, then we're in that place of like, oh, now we have to feel this. And this is something that I've seen with my parents a lot growing up, is that I could tell that my dad is similar to what you're describing, in that didn't he was he always used to see himself as a very like go with, oh yeah, I'm easygoing, easy. He always used to say that as a way to like for us as children to be like, yeah, he is really easygoing. We should listen to him in this moment. He used to be like, I'm really easygoing, but I just asked this one thing, kind of thing. But as I got older, and especially doing this work, I realized it wasn't that he was easygoing. It was that he was irresponsible. He didn't know how to hold boundaries. He didn't know how to give direction. He didn't have the patience to actually teach me much. And his way of dealing with being responsible and the feelings that come with that, because as soon as you're responsible for something, you're taking on all the liability for if something goes wrong. But if you can just be like, you know what, I don't have to look at that, I don't have to worry about that, I'm just easygoing, I'm just going to go with the flow. We don't have to feel the kind of like the deeper feelings that are in there about, I mean, in this example about, oh, well, what if I do start to teach my kid and they're not doing what I want them to do? And then I start to feel powerless and out of control. And this is my dad, I hate feeling powerless and it makes me angry. And I don't even like to feel anger. So I don't want to feel all of that. So let me just kind of just pretend I'm easygoing and let everything slide and be a permissive parent. So what was it for you, Madison, that is kind of like underneath the surface that was causing you, maybe you've got there, maybe you haven't yet, but it's causing you to not want to kind of step into that responsibility and pay more attention, as you were saying, or attend to?
Yeah. I real quick, I want to make a point about your dad, because this is something I noticed about me and my kids too. So this is how it just like seeps into every aspect of my life. Where I have had a hard time setting boundaries, not necessarily boundaries, but just like for example, I would make a chore chart to try and get my daughter to start doing chores and taking responsibility. And then we'd do it for like a few days, and then we wouldn't do it anymore. So when I start to hold her to a certain standard, I have to hold that. So that's why, like, it was probably like a month ago or two, I think in one of the classes, as like I had that realization, it's like, wow, like I don't want to hold her to a standard, because that means I have to hold myself to that same standard of checking in, of holding her to it, of paying attention to what she's doing, like all the time. And so it's just like my capacity, that's where the overwhelm is. It's like the over is like, okay, there's just 5 million things that I need to like focus on. So if I just stop, if I ignore like 400 of those things, I can manage a little bit better. So that's I feel like I know your dad.
And if you know my dad, you know me, because I inherited all that stuff. So,
Yeah. So another layer to this too, because there's just so many. That's why I feel like it's just been this big block theme. That's kind of how I feel like we move through things.
Yeah, wait, Madison. So can we stay with holding your daughter to a standard really quickly?
Yeah.
So when you saw that, right? When you saw that you weren't like holding it, right? And you were just kind of letting it slide and whatever, and you saw it's because you don't hold yourself to it. Did you feel a lot of shame about that? Like, what were the emotional programs there?
I started crying. Like, I felt so sad. I'm going to give you the example because I'm tearing up just thinking about it. So my partner, basically, she got in trouble. And so we kind of vibe similarly. It's like we both kind of have a hard time holding that boundary. She did something, she wasn't doing something she was supposed to. And he had a hard, like, you're in trouble, go to your room. And I felt her confusion. I felt her, like, this is unfair. Like, this doesn't make sense. She goes to her room. And what happened was we set a boundary a few weeks ago. And I didn't, like, I could tell even like earlier that day and maybe that day before, like, I didn't hold her to that boundary. And so then she's like, because of my lack of showing up and holding her to something in a powerful leadership role, I just kind of, like, because I have so many other things going on or whatever, like, just programs, just like, I didn't hold her to it. And so then all of a sudden she gets blindsided by this severe consequence when maybe earlier that day she did it, she didn't get in trouble. The other day she did it, she didn't get in trouble. And so she's learning energetically that when we set a boundary for her and she, like, it's like, yeah, we told her 2-3 weeks ago, but we're not holding her to it. So she's not learning that she needs to keep doing it. So then when she gets blindsided with this harsh punishment, I don't even remember, it's something, she's confused. You know what I mean? So that's why when it hit me, like, she is doing this because of the way that we are parenting. Like, she is not doing what she's supposed to because of us. We're not being good leaders. And that hit me like a ton of bricks because it's just bleeding. My wounding is bleeding into her and creating all of this shit in her. Like, my lack of responsibility, my lack of, holding that boundary, paying attention, doing what I need to do is harming her. Like, that's harm. Like, that's very harmful. And so, yeah, there was, like, it was shame, it was sadness, it was regret, it was guilt, all of these things. And so, yeah, it's wild because as parents, we are bleeding everything into our kids, whether we know it or not.
Yes. And so when you went into this, I mean, this is how we show up as our parents, right? I mean, so you were talking about a lack of leadership. We're talking about a lack of guidance. We're talking about parents who don't know how to parent because their life is so crazy. And especially with, your dad having to literally watch over 4 girls, right? And he's working and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So when you started crying, you started to feel all that shame. How old were you? Like, what age showed up that was feeling everything that she was feeling?
Yeah. Part of it was just, it felt like just like me in that moment. I wouldn't say the shame, it just like the deep realization that I've been fucking up,
Yeah.
It's like this grief, like that grief that you experience in the moment, that it's like, it feels like a divine feeling, but even though it's shitty. And then I've been going into the wounds that have been creating that version of me, right? And I'll share another layer to this too. There's the inattention, the overwhelm, and then there's also this little tantrumy 3-year-old that doesn't want to do anything. Like, I just don't want to fucking do this. Like, that's what I feel like this, I mean, if I think about the last time I felt this, like, probably like a month and a half ago. If we like just stick with the car example, like I have so many more other things important to do, you know, and there's like that's what I learned from my dad too, you know. I just don't want to do this. I just don't, just this strong resistance, this strong, just tantrum. But it's just like a mental program. It's not like I'm sitting in my car, like hands on the steering wheel, like this is stupid. Like it's literally a mental program that's just like, I don't want to do this. And I was being coached through this with one of our coaches, which is so great because some, you know, like we can do what we can on our own, and sometimes it's nice that we have an other perspective to show us our blind spots. And so this was a huge blind spot for me. It tracked me down to like a little 3-year-old who actually didn't get to throw a tantrum, and I had no idea that these things were connected. So I held and fostered this like tantrum for my whole life, right? But my dad, like the way that my dad parented, we weren't really allowed to express anything negative, crying, anger, nothing like that. We had to be good. We had to follow the rules. We couldn't complain. We couldn't, very rigid. And so this little 3-year-old just wanted to throw a tantrum because that's what 3-year-olds do. Like when they're told, I know that Rachel's taught about this too, and it made so much sense. It's like we think that there's something wrong with a 3-year-old throwing a tantrum, like they're bad, or they need to like accept every task they're supposed to do with, okay, great, what's next? You know, make me a list, mom, I'll do it all. Like we think that that's what they should respond like, but no, like they're learning. They like, of course, don't want to go pick up their room. You know, they need to be shown and guided, and it's okay. Like Rachel, you know, says like, it's okay if you don't like it, but like you still need to do it. It's part of being responsible. So I was just told, basically felt like I couldn't express anything. I couldn't express that tantrumy part of me. So I connected with this little version of me, and I let her throw the biggest tantrum, and it was just so beautiful. I know it sounds like the opposite of what we need to do, right? But I think freeing that energy, showing her love, telling her it's okay. Like you feel that tantrum, like you allow that, just like feel it, allow it all to come up. And then teaching her and guiding her and allowing her to feel what it feels like to be responsible, to show up, to do, you know, the dishes or do the whatever. Because that's what teaching divine responsibility is. And as adults, often there's younger parts of us that didn't learn that. And so we go in and we teach our inner child, okay, this is how things are done, and this is why. You know, it's like it's important not to, you know, make extra work for other people because of your lack of responsibility, right? It's important to clean up after yourself. It's important to keep your space clean. Feel what that feels like to have a nice, clean space, you know? Because I feel that too, you know, I clean out my car, I vacuum it. It feels good. It feels organized. When it's a mess, it's chaotic, it's overwhelming, it contributes to that numbing and that inattention, that it's like that avoidance. And so then it almost fosters that overwhelm as well. So yeah,
I can't tell you the amount of little tantrums I've had with different versions of my inner child. Same thing, I wasn't really allowed to have tantrums growing up. Wasn't allowed to be don't be angry. I used to get told that all the time. Don't be angry. And it wasn't okay. Even when the last kind of confrontation I had with my dad got annoyed at me for making him angry. So if you can imagine, if he doesn't allow himself to be angry, he's not going to allow me to be angry. It's going to bring up the same stuff. So I feel you. I've been there, and it's important. I mean, this is part of what healing is being able to meet what's there just with love, right? And if what's there is a tantrum, as Rachel teaches, you can't just try and tell a tantrum to not be a tantrum. It's a tantrum. That's what needs to, be expressed through that part of us. We have to move through that process of feeling it and allowing it to be there, but without then trapping ourselves into that version of us, right? And that's obviously the key, is being able to move through that experience. And as you said, right now, feel what it feels like to be responsible. Feel how magnificent that is. Yeah, you don't want to do this thing, but you still have to do it. So let's have your tantrum, let's do it, and then let's feel what that feels like. Okay, cool. Now you've got that out. Do you need to do that tantrum again? Well, probably not. You can just elevate to this feeling right here. I think it's so easy to bypass and skip over that part when those versions of us do show up. And it's an important step to like really allow ourselves to feel what's actually there, and not let our mind come in and tell us what this whole process of allowing ourselves to heal should be like or look like. It's like, if it's here, we need to meet it with love. And it sounds like you are doing exactly that, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you wanted to throw a tantrum just on this journey?
Yep.
Yeah, it's rough.
Mads, you talk about like your dad never allowing you guys to feel negative feelings, which is just gnarly. So what did that look like? And then how did you navigate that as a kid? Like, what did you end up doing when you're not allowed to feel negative things?
I just shut down. It's not that he wasn't a outwardly angry person, but with all of us girls, because I had 3 sisters, we feel a lot. So he would shut down and he would get angry, like he would close off. And so that's really all. Like, he wouldn't need to spank us or have harsh punishments. All he would need to do was just shut down and cut off his love towards us, So a lot of my childhood and also personality, doing what I need to make him see me and see that I'm doing a good job and being a good girl. So like, I'm going to college and getting good grades and all these things, doing good in sports. That's when I would get like a smile or an atta girl. And so then that also morphed into my personality. It's like, if I can't do anything bad, because then he won't love me, It never was like, oh, he's going to smack me or hit me or not even yell at me. Like, he would rarely yell. Like, I was like maybe 2 times in my whole life that he would yell. It was just like this very like toxic masculine energy of like, just like stern. It's
was it cold?
Feel it.
Stern. Was it cold?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And another piece of just like feeling like you're a burden or you're too much, or what you're making his life harder. And so another piece of this responsibility, and the reason why I only really care about things if it has to do with other people, but not myself, is that I learned that it only matters if I do this for my dad, because my dad is expecting this of me. My dad's going to be mad if I don't do this. My dad's going to be upset. My dad's going to cut off his love for me. So I learned to only do things for other people. I only learned to do things so other people won't get upset or mad. So like, even when I've had roommates in the past, like, I don't want to upset my roommates. So I'll clean the kitchen, so I can stay on top of things, but only because I don't want them to be mad at me, but I also want them to think that it's crazy, because there's that part of me that has been like irresponsible, not showing up. I don't want them to see that part of me. So it's not coming. I'm doing these responsible things, not out of the way of responsibility, but out of woundedness. So that's where it comes, like the discernment comes in. which is really interesting because you can have like the most responsible person, like OCD, tight, like clean everything, but they're not actually being responsible, like divinely responsible. It's just a coping mechanism so they don't have to feel what they need to feel, and so they can have control.
To control program, yeah.
So that's like it almost is like mirrors backwards their lack of responsibility for their emotional self by reflecting in they don't want to see how, I mean, in some situations they don't want other people to see how much emotional turmoil they're in, or they don't want to see it themselves, how irresponsible they are with themselves. So then they want to control the environment by seeming like they're being responsible. So just like hiding our shadow selves even more.
Yeah, it's that I can't control what I'm feeling, so I need to go out and control something to make me feel better. And just as you were sharing, it's like the insanity, and this is something obviously we all do on this planet, to the lengths that we go to and the distorted different things that we do in old earth, in separation consciousness, to get love. Whether it's like what you were sharing is, you're like, dad wasn't like, abusive or mean in any of that kind of way, but you wanted, when we're so disconnected, right, and we want that love from dad, right, and then we start to see, oh, that facial expression that he just gave, I could tell I displeased him, and then he's not going to give me what I think I want and need from him, so I've got to change me. And then we're just completely being molded and conditioned without, it's not like as parents, they're growing up and it's this conscious thought of like, oh, I'm going to express this certain emotion and this certain, I'm going to be cold here so they don't do that again. That's happening, but it's all happening on a unconscious, subconscious level. And it's just molding us as children into what we think we need to be to receive that thing that we think we need, which when you really get down to it is like, it's so wild and ridiculous. But because of how disconnected we are, it's what happens is we don't have that, that love for ourselves. We're born into this world, right, as just this little, pure little infant being. We got to learn how to be human. We're moving through the process of completely forgetting where we came from and what we are. And then we receive all this programming and we're like, now I'm stuck, having to either be overly responsible or being the good little girl or good little boy or doing whatever in order just to please mum or dad, in order to receive what it is that we think we need, which is all coming from outside of us. And I don't know, did you get down to the level with this part of you of realizing like, oh, I've had to mold myself into this all because I really just want dad's love and I can actually just give that to myself?
Yeah, I mean that's like a core piece to a lot of the different wounds that I have. Even just like the golden child, like, needing to fall into line and do what's told and be the perfect daughter. Yeah. And as you were sharing that too, Danny, it's like we think that it's just all just when we're kids, right? We think that we do all these things, sorts of validation from our parents. But let me tell you, like, as an adult, you're stuck with just the same thing. It's the same thing. And I'm going to share this with you guys. And I had this deep realization today, even though I've known, there's some things that you just know, but then like you get hit with the same thing and you're like, holy shit. My partner is like my dad. Like I respond to him like I would my dad when my wounding is activated. And so when I'm cleaning the kitchen, I'm doing it because, there's definitely pieces of me. Of course, I want to clean the kitchen, but they're also this wounding of I need to make sure I do it right because I don't want him to be mad. I need to make sure I like, clean everything up, every single crumb, because I don't want him to judge me or stop, cut off or like make me feel like I'm a burden. And that's also, I had asked him, this is when the realization came in, is I had asked him something really simple today. So super easy, something that he could do. And I was worried about him getting upset that it would be too much because I didn't want to be a burden. So it's like, I realized like, holy shit, like I am just being little girl, wanting dad to be okay with her, wanting to be the perfect little girl and wanting to not upset him and not feel like I'm too much. And like, that's why I messaged you, Ellie. I was like, I feel sick. This is like disgusting.
Girl, this is everybody. This is
Yeah.
everybody. Everybody dates their parents. And it's sick. And it's like, this is what we're waking up to.
Yeah, you're attracted to the frequencies that you have and you're comfortable, you're familiar with. That's why when you first meet somebody and you're like, oh my God, we're falling in love. No, your wounds are just all your frequencies are just matching theirs, and it's making you feel really good and complete and whole because it's in complete resonance with all your crap that you've got in there, whether it's the opposite end of the spectrum or, something that is identical. Yeah. Pretty wild. It's really interesting to see in your partner. Oh man, it's my dad right there. Oh, that's my mom.
Yeah. And I was like, why did this hit me so much harder? I think that like doing this work, you are obviously elevating. So I think when those, I don't know, when like such old wounds come up and you have that difference, like a bigger difference, then it feels icky. And it's like, I also felt so much like patriarchal conditioning too, which also felt really sickening, of like, let me tiptoe around, let me overextend, like part of my wounded part of me wanted to drive 3 times as far just so he didn't have to put in a little extra effort, like kind of thing, I don't want to upset him. I don't want to make him feel like less of me. I don't want him to think that I'm creating. Okay, so this is another piece. Creating more work for him. What's hard is that there are still programs of irresponsibility and inattention in me. Like it's something I'm working on, but it's, it's not going to just disappear overnight. So this other wound pairs with it really well in just a shitty way where I feel like I'm a burden. I feel like I'm too much. I feel like I'm making everybody's lives harder. But there's also fragments of me that is at times probably making people's life harder. But not to the extent that my wounding thinks that I am, So it's hard because it's like I have to heal both of them. I don't know, that's where the discernment comes. It's like, am I really making someone's life harder? Is this really a piece where I need to take responsibility for? Or is this my program that's projecting this fear of like being a burden onto this situation?
Well, it's the extremes as well, right? So like your programs will say, well, I can't hold him accountable here or whatever because then, or I can't ask for this thing because then it will reveal back to him. He might say, well, you're being a burden and I don't want to feel that. So it's like that extreme where we believe that, well, just because in some cases I am a burden, right? I might show up like irresponsible in certain ways and create extra work. Then our programs then go, that's what I am and I'm always like that. Instead of, no, there are times that I do show up that way, yes. But in this moment, I'm actually not. But then it's like that that part of us that wants to keep the program running will use that other shadow aspect of us to justify why we shouldn't say anything. Well, let's just not say anything because maybe that is true and maybe I am a burden. And then that allows those programs to just stay nicely exactly where they am. And I get that part of me is like, well, now I get to just keep running this program and, you know, deferring responsibility, or the opposite, take on over responsibility because I don't want to, you know, offend them, or I don't want to trigger them, or I don't want them to be annoyed.
And I don't want them to see that shadow aspect of me that is irresponsible. So I'm going to overextend and I'm going to, stay in this.
And then they feed each other.
Yeah, they feed each other. It's worse.
They'll feed each other to keep each other alive, because that's all of our programs. They all just want to stay alive. And so they'll do what they can to trick us, to manipulate us, to ensure that they're surviving, because they want to survive. They don't want to, you know, they don't want to be brought to the light and die off because they think that's the end of them.
And then this is what we all do is, how do we hide? How do we stay hidden? You know, at the expense of ourselves, you know, and then, you know, causing harm to other people, just to keep the shadow self hidden so they never actually see what's really in there, right? That's the wild part. Instead of, it's in there, let me just fucking be with it. Let me alchemize it. It is shitty. It is cringy. It is ugly. It is painful, whatever the fuck it is. And let's just dissolve it so that it doesn't exist anymore. But in the patriarchy, we're all programmed to hide. And then look at all the stuff that it causes. I mean, it literally just causes harm to yourself and to everybody else. It's wild, the lengths that we go so that we're not, that part isn't seen. It's like, just fucking see it and just wear it and do the work around it.
And how, like, it sounds so simple, right? And when you're really doing it, it really truly is. But I feel like the patriarchy, those are like, they're smart in a sense of like knowing how to inflict certain traumas and certain programs into people to keep people trapped. And so the shame piece, there's shame and there's judgment.
Yes.
So let's all judge everybody for them showing up in a certain way. So you're afraid of what people are going to think about you. And then you are programmed to feel so shameful about these dark parts of you. So you don't feel them because, and so I also want to touch on this because there's divine shame, right? That just, of course, something negative is going to feel bad. Something that you do that's going to harm somebody else is going to feel bad. And that is good. That is good to feel that. But we are also conditioned to feel this acquired, this wounded shame. And this shame just blankets everything and keeps us from taking responsibility for ourselves and taking responsibility for the harmful ways that we show up. And we don't learn to decide, like to discern the difference between those two. And obviously in an enlightened world, we wouldn't have the wounded acquired shame. So we would just know, okay, oh, I feel bad. This is harmful. I probably shouldn't be doing this. I should probably, make up for it in some way. But because there's it's like mucky. It's like, okay, is this the acquired shame? So then it's hard to want to feel that at all. And we're conditioned to avoid it, and it results, especially in men, but I see it, everywhere, right? I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be seen as bad, because there are programs I've noticed that are easier to go into. Like when you are the one being harmed, those ones are much easier to go into because you get more validation, affirmation. Oh, you were hurt. Let me have compassion for you. Let me do this for you. So those are easy to see. The ones that are harder to see, the ones that take true strength as a warrior, are the parts of you that want to hide because everybody else is going to judge them in a sense of like, oh, you're a bad person. You've caused harm. And we don't want to look at those pieces, but those pieces are the parts of us that continue to cause the harm. It's just wild.
And in patriarchy, if you're a woman and you start stepping into your power, there's going to be judgment that probably comes in there as well. Like you're now, you mentioned the word warrior, you're now starting to push against the entire enslavement system. So, of course, there's going to be energetic clapback from everyone's programs that have learned to oppress women, oppress the feminine, enslave. And so as soon as it's why so much, we see like a woman stepping into a power, you see this, in the way Rachel shows up on social media all of the time, and people can't handle it. They don't know how to handle a powerful woman because all they've learned and conditioned to be is so weak and powerless. And so it's like there's that aspect of it too, based on kind of like what you were sharing. It's like, yeah, me holding somebody, whether it's my partner or someone else, accountable, there's probably going to be some level of misogynistic programming that's going to come back in return. And Ellie, Madison, maybe you both can comment on this from personal experience.
I mean, this is what they do, right? When you talk about the programming of shame, we're so shameful about these parts that we don't want to be seen. Cousins with that is the powerlessness. So this is what's also conditioned into us, is that the shame is there. We're so shameful about, but we're so powerless. We don't actually know how to detach from the shame and alchemize it and just go into it, right? So those things are tied so that we just stay there. You're so powerless. You're never going to be powerful enough to actually go into the shame, right? And so when I see people, like, especially like a woman stepping into their power, it explodes people. Like, people don't know what to fucking do about it. And because they're so powerless because of the patriarchy, all they know how to do is destroy, destroy, destroy. Let me bring you down to where I am to make myself feel better. And it's all tied to the core of what patriarchy is here to do, which is to make sure that the feminine is destroyed and stays destroyed. And it's like it requires all of us to have and remember and connect back to the power that we have in ourselves, to go connect to that and descend into the darkness. Like, descend into every cave that you've kept real closed all of this time, because it's time to go in and just do the work. Like, Rachel, there's things, if you're ever a student of Rachel's, or if you're ever a student at Masters of Self University, there are things that Rachel repeats over and over and over again. And she doesn't say it because because just to say it. She says it over and over again, always for a fucking reason. And one thing she drills into us constantly is knock the shame shit off. And you see it across the board. People just get trapped in the shame. Like, especially like with women, like for me, I'm still very much working on it. I'm working on it. Okay. But it's like when I see, or when I cause harm, or when there's something that starts to come up, the shaming that I do in myself, and it's a trap. It's a complete and utter trap, so that you never actually evolve out of that. And we've been conditioned to think like, no, it's good to shame ourselves because that is shameful. Like, that's the wild part. Instead of, this is here, let me love it, and let me love it into transcendence so I can become the truth of who I really am. It's crazy when you start to really go into it and really see it.
I mean, that's religion.
Yes.
And it's like, how do you teach a kid how to be good without shaming them for the things that they do wrong? That's where, and it's not just religion, but I mean, how almost everybody was parented was like, you do something bad, and in order to correct their behavior, you shame them.
Yes.
That's so normalized. So how do I get them to learn the lesson without making them feel bad? It's so second nature that we don't even question it. But that's where that all starts. Then because they've conditioned us to do that, they've conditioned our parents and all the generations, we don't want to look at what, I even see this in my daughter. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little example because this is a really good point. She was jumping on the trampoline with her younger sister, and she tried to bounce her just a little bit higher, and her little sister fell and she got hurt. And then my partner comes running and he's like, so what happened? My older daughter said, I don't know. when like she truly did know what happened. But I talked to her after this. She lies. The reason why she lies is because she doesn't want to feel like get in trouble, right? And that's a thing that she's learned from other people, but of like being so shamed for what you've done that you don't take responsibility for what you did. And so I had to really teach her. I had to reteach her. It's like, okay, your first responsibility is to check on your sister. Okay. It's okay. We all make mistakes, but you check on her, make sure she's okay. And hypothetically, my partner runs over and he gets mad at her, right? For bouncing too high. Teaching her that there will be people out there that will make you feel down, make you feel bad, put you down, shame you for mistakes that you make. But it's up to you to take responsibility for what you did, and just know, like, you can't control those other people, right? It's not that you're bad, you just made a mistake, and to take responsibility for it. And then it's really a reteaching, because she learned some bad habits. But yeah, it's created that I don't feel safe to tell the truth, because the way that I have been parented in the past, of like getting reprimanded and getting put down, and then her step siblings like, oh well, you're bad, like you're a bad kid, just like, I wouldn't want to tell the truth either. That's not safe. Like, that doesn't feel safe to me. Yeah, that's just like a simple example that happened the other day. I'm like, I get why you didn't want to tell the truth, but let's relearn this. Let's see what we should do next time. And whether or not like it was an accident, you take responsibility, and maybe somebody's going to make you feel bad, but just know deep in your heart, hey, I've taken responsibility. I've checked in with the person, and that's what I need to do right now. Like, that's my responsibility in this moment.
I had that same conversation with my dad when I was a kid, and I was playing cricket against the table, and the cricket, but I was like using our outside table for a backstop, and I put a hole through the table. I was like, oh my God. So I tried to put it all back together and pretend like nothing happened. And he, came and asked me, and I was like, oh, I don't know what happened. And then he was like, called me out on it, because he found the missing piece and kind of put two and two together. I was like, you don't need to lie. And he's like, you can just tell the truth. And I look back on that, I was extremely grateful for that. I was like, yeah, it's really good. But then in other moments when he would feel, I'd done something quote unquote wrong, it was always, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. And he would hit me with the disappointment. So it's like,
that's the emotional manipulation.
It's like I would have to sit there and just feel his disappointment, his shame about what it was that I did. And then I would just sit there. So I learned to lie. I did that exact thing. Like, learn to lie about, things that could get me in trouble, because I didn't want to feel what it feels like for him to sit me down and tell me I'm disappointed in you. And I find myself, leaning into the disappointment all of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where you see the mixture of the acquired wounded shame, when really, like, if we were all divine parents, if you made a hole in the wall or whatever, and he saw you, he would teach you, hey, I made a mistake. How can I help? How can I fix this? Mm-hmm. He wouldn't need to make you feel bad by saying, I'm disappointed in you. Like, he wouldn't need to make, like, you don't need to make your kids feel bad. You just need to teach them how to take responsibility. Translates to us right now. We don't need to make ourselves feel bad. We just need to take responsibility for what we've done that causes harm.
Yeah.
And heal it, make it better.
And I've had to move through certain things that I've done in this lifetime as a guy, and things that I look back on and I am not proud of. And when I've had sessions with Rachel about this, things that, sharing with her, like, I've done these things, and it's like the energy that comes up is like, it's unforgivable. I can't can't get past what it is that I've done. And what as like the shame was coming up for certain things that I've done, instead of her focusing, having me focus on the shame and falling into that, it was like, activate the way of honoring. And it was just having that session with her completely shifted the way that I then would heal things that I've done, quote unquote, wrong, things that I've done bad. And it's that thing of, when I'm the one who's caused harm in another, the most selfish thing I can do is now make it about me and feel bad about what I've done. Of course I feel bad for what I've done, but what I need to do in this moment is become the way of honoring for the harm that I've caused. So let me start there. Because that is my responsibility, right? Whether it's I need to fix the table that I've broken by, honoring the table, or I need to apologize to my sister for bouncing her off the trampoline and honoring her and doing what I can do to make sure mentally, emotionally, physically she's okay, or whatever it might be, our example. It's not what we think it is. But as you mentioned, Madison, we're so used to, in this world, just trying to teach ourselves through this shame, let me just shit on myself, let me just bring myself down, let me punish myself, as a way that, and the whole, obviously, the literal, if you now will zoom out to like the way that corporal punishment, or prisons and jails and all that operate, is they just throw you in a cell, they isolate you and just make you feel bad for what you've done for however length your sentence is. Like, that's not helping in any kind of way. Oh, you did this thing, you really hurt somebody. Oh, we'll go spend 10 years in a cell and feel bad for what you did, and then you're going to come out and you're suddenly reformed. Like,
yeah, I know, it's wild. And there's like the flip side of this too, which also you see from religion, is do whatever you want and you'll be forgiven.
Yes.
Where it just bypassing that divine shame of like, oh, I did do something wrong, but I don't have to look at it because I'm just going to be forgiven. It's just so tricky. It's crazy how it's like you're just up against, there's both sides. Mm-hmm. Right? You have to really focus and discern what's happening and why you're feeling the way that you are. Because I see this in a lot of like permissive parenting styles where kids tend to lie as well. Kids, honestly, more. And I was really feeling into this the other day because it's been happening with somebody that I know. And it's like, it feels like there's this need for attention, but there's also no consequences. So why not? It's kind of fun. It's kind of like tricky, kind of sneaky. And I'm not going to get in any consequences because of it. So I'm just gonna lie and see what I can get away with. So you have, the rigid and the consequence, the shaming. And then you also have like, not a big deal. And every kid gets to live the life that they want and not have any sort of consequence. And you see similar patterns, but have a whole different, upbringing too.
Yeah. And to just bring this entire podcast, back to 180, you don't know what your personality is until you fucking heal your shit. Because all your personality is just made up of programs and wounding and conditioning and brainwashing and mind control. So you have no idea who you truly are until you start doing the work to unravel what you are not, to discover who you truly are.
I could not have said it better myself, Ellie. That was perfect.
So to everybody at home, if you're like, wait, I want to figure out who I am, great. Awesome. We have an entire metaphysical school for that. Okay. Masters of Self University. Our fall semester starts in August. We are having free student enrollment meetings now where you can learn all about what it looks like to become a student at our school, to really start learning the work and breaking down, some of the things that you learned today through Madison shares and vulnerability. Thank you, Madison. So check us out at masterselfuniversity.com. Madison, we love you. Thank you so much for being here. And until the next episode, we'll see you guys then. Bye.